A bad loss for Indiana at the State Farm Center in Champaign, Illinois. 71 to 51, the Illini take control in the second half over Indiana and come out with a 20-point win. We'll break it all down right here on the House of Hoosier, presented by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. I'm Ian Plaskoff, joined as always by Noah Gerkey, and one of us was at the State Farm Center. One of us was not. And that's all oh well, it's past now. But for those of you that are not in the loop, for the not 60,000 of you that saw my tweet on Twitter, for some reason that blew up. Um, I was supposed to be on the student radio broadcast for that game for Indiana. And for the first time in maybe ever, student radio credentials got denied by the visiting school. So interesting. Usually that has priority, but apparently it did not in Champaign. But the thing is, for me, I would have had the first half, which was not all too terrible.
First half would have been a pretty fun half to call. The energy
Yeah.
was there. Indiana played pretty well too, but apparently Illinois strategic communications didn't feel like student radio was valuable enough to have at the game. So yeah, that's all we got to really say about that. Your
Well,
tweet blew up. People knew you were out. It was a lonely coast to coast, man. It was
yeah,
long.
I saw that, and the comment section was very funny. I don't know if you saw that.
I got a chance to look a little bit, but I got that.
Um, well, you were there. How was it? I mean, atmosphere wise, vibes, media setup.
The media said we were on the moon. We were in the very last row of the stadium. And the thing about the State Farm Center is it isn't too high up. It's more so just farther away from the floor. So the atmosphere wise, from row 22 in section 224 wasn't that great. I mean, I don't want to like beat down Illinois because they beat down Indiana, but like the atmosphere's okay. I think Assembly Hall's been louder this year. Rupp Arena was definitely louder when Indiana played at Kentucky this year. The atmosphere's fine. I mean, I don't know what the expectations are for Illinois if it's supposed to be like one of those premier loud places to play. But it was also kind of hard to tell being almost a mile away from the floor. I'm extremely grateful that I got to go. It was an awesome experience. It looks like a spaceship. The arena itself is very cool. Very, very cool. The atmosphere, it wasn't as loud as I thought it was going to be.
Well, there wasn't a lot to cheer about in the first half, just because it was so back and forth. But that second half, I mean, it's just like they went into the locker room and I don't know what Brad Underwood did to get him in shape like that, but that was an impressive second half. But as for Indiana, a lot to look at within that first half, and there were some promising signs as soon as that game started. Um, Sam Alexis was on the board with two easy, baskets, and then Lamar started getting going. Tucker was fine. And then after that, it just felt like everything got progressively worse throughout the rest of the game. And that was as Illinois figured out it could rebound better and it could shoot better and play better defense and is the clear better overall team than Indiana, which was not in doubt by any means. I mean, this is a top 10 team in the country. Sure, they're coming off of two losses in their last two games, but this is Illinois we're talking about. Um, but I liked what I saw in the first half from Indiana, and I just wish that Indiana could have sustained that for a little bit longer to make the game slightly more competitive.
I just think the way that Indiana plays, you can probably surprise some teams in the first half because Sam Alexis looked good. He even stepped out and shot a three-point shot. He even tried taking one early on. I was like, okay, that's how we're feeling today, Sam Alexis. But the way Indiana plays, they're going to surprise people in the first half because Lamar will get hot or Sam Alexis will get going. DeVries will hit a shot early. But once teams realize that, and I'll talk about what I think was the biggest issue in that game, which wasn't the rebounding or the defense, surprisingly. I don't think it was the biggest issue of the game. Indiana's very one-dimensional on offense at times. And that one dimension is Lamar Wilkerson. They just lack a secondary scorer. And we thought it was going to be Tucker DeVries. We thought Tate Conroy was going to be that player. Now he's not even seeing the floor. That was the issue. Illinois realized that we can put Kylan Boswell, who's coming back off of injury, which is another interesting point. He's one of the best defenders in the country. Throw him on Lamar, make his life hard, and let's let everybody else try to get theirs. And Indiana couldn't do it. And Illinois' top 10 team, they're probably the potential Final Four team. They're without another one of their starters and looked as good as they did last night. And getting Boswell back and even more healthy, they're going to be legit, and they are a Final Four contender for sure. So there was never a doubt that Illinois was the better team on the floor yesterday. And like I said in the coast to coast, it was a game that Indiana hung around in, but never felt like they were going to find a way to win that game.
Yeah, I agree. I went into that game. I've gone into this week thinking, if Indiana wins one of two, I would be a little surprised, but it would be probably the lock for the tournament. That would be it. Do I think they win one of two against Illinois and Purdue both on the road? No. But if it happens, then you're feeling good about March. No, I also know line scores are not everything. The PRA line, points, rebounds, assists. But if you look at the starting five for both these teams, it's more telling than usual in this game. I mean, for Indiana, Lamar Wilkerson, we're going to go in order of points, rebounds, assists. Lamar Wilkerson, 21, 3 and 1. Tucker DeVries, 13, 2 and 1. Sam Alexis, 11, 8 and 1. Connor Enright, 0, 2 and 6. And Nick Dorn, 1, 2, 0. You go down to Illinois. David Mirkovic, 25, 7 and 3. Kylan Boswell, 9, 7 and 2. Tomislav Ivicic, 14, 6 and 1. Jake Davis, 3, 2, 1. And Keaton Wagler, 18, 6 and 3. Much more productive on the most basic level of stats for Illinois starting five. And that doesn't include their offensive rebounding, their second chance points, their defense, anything that isn't recorded in points, rebounds, or assists. But you can tell on that basic level, Illinois has a secondary scorer, it has a primary scorer, it has a tertiary scorer, it's got a defensive guy, a guy who can rebound, and a team rebounding effort. They had four guys with six or more rebounds in this game and out rebounded Indiana 38 to 25. This is a much more well-rounded team and a team effort, but it just shows you what you can do when you have a secondary scorer and even a tertiary scorer. Um, and with Indiana, when it was not Wilkerson, it was not really anybody else.
And that's not even to mention the guy coming off the bench and Ben Hummerkaus had 8 rebounds, was their leading rebounder. So he didn't contribute anything in the scoring. He had an uncharacteristic 0 for 6 shooting night from three. He's one of the better shooters in the conference. 8 rebounds as well. And with Illinois, obviously it's a little bit different because they've got guys that can hurt you, but David Mirkovic is not their primary scorer. I don't even think he's their secondary scorer on a healthy team. I think Kylan Boswell is one or two, and Wagler's the second. And then Isievich is awesome as well. Tomislav, that is. The thing about Illinois is they're just so well balanced. They don't have to shoot a bunch of threes. They don't have to pound you inside. They don't even have to shoot particularly well to beat you. They turned the ball over 2 times yesterday. Two. They shot 17 more shots than Indiana on their home floor. You're, and that's not even looking at the rebounding. I know that has a lot to do with it, all the offensive rebounds, second chance looks. They only turned the basketball over 2 times. Like that's extra possessions. They weren't live ball turnovers. Indiana's were, and giving them, letting them go out and run. When you have that secondary score, and like you mentioned, the tertiary score, there's so many ways to attack you on offense, but they're also so just poised and balanced and okay with going late in the shot clock and then having a drive from Boswell or a dump down to Ivicic. And that worked for them. And when you can play 5 people on offense and feel like you've got 5 weapons on the offensive floor, you feel a lot better.
There are some stats in here that I'm just a little wowed by. And I mean, the two turnovers makes up for it. Illinois shot 23% from three on 31 attempts, 7 for 31. Illinois had 11 assists on 29 made baskets. Um, and those are the flip side. But then where they dominate, they really dominate. They had 7 steals to Indiana's one, 40 points in the paint to Indiana's 24. Uh, they had 2 bench points. Let's see. All that, and they still put up 71 and won by 20 at home. I mean, just it's the philosophy that works for Illinois. It's the philosophy that typically does not work for Indiana. Now, this is the tallest team in the Big Ten on average. I think it might be the tallest team in Division One or Power Five. There was something said on the broadcast. I don't remember exactly. But when Indiana plays these slower playing, defense heavy, tall teams that have long arms that can defend well, and then you see that one-dimensional scoring come in, it's trouble.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the media school when we were talking up there in row 400 yesterday that Illinois is the worst matchup team for Indiana in the Big Ten outside of Michigan. And maybe even worse than Michigan. Like if there's a team on paper that Indiana matches up worst in the conference with, it's Illinois or Michigan. Michigan, obviously, because the firepower, Adaimara and Yaxel Lindbergh are awesome. But Illinois just got the size, like you mentioned, and then you bring back Boswell, who's that lockdown defender, and Indiana's only really got the one guy on offense, seemingly for the majority of the night. They're a terrible matchup for Indiana. And likes to go grab rebounds as well. And that proved to be an issue too. And in the press conference, they asked Coach DeVries, you only played 7 guys. What's with that? What longer maybe? Are we thinking about playing more people? Are we trying to keep it short? Are we worried about getting tired? And his response was simple. They only played 7 guys. They made it work. Like that's just what the level is right now, is that they're two different level of programs, two different level of teams. He was right. Illinois only played 7 guys, and Ivisic, I believe, only played like 10 to 14 minutes, right?
Uh,
14 minutes?
let's see. Zavonimir you're talking about?
Yeah, he played 14.
Yeah, 14. He was a plus 13 in 14 minutes.
They only played 7 guys. Indiana only played 7 guys. But like when you go down the list, and we talked about it, Connor Enright shot the basketball twice. They are both end of shot clock situations where he had to put up a shot. Not once did he go hunt his own shot. Not once did he get a shot in the flow of the offense. Not once did he get downhill and try to shoot a layup. Nick Dorn was 0 for 5. I don't know what his numbers are since the USC game, but they cannot be pretty. They can't. Josiah Miles came in. Actually, I thought he played pretty well. He drew the three or fouled 3 times. But I mean, this is just to a point where Indiana has, from the offensive end, if you're scouting them, you are scouting 2 players, maybe. And it's Lamar and Sam Alexis are the only 2 players you're really spending any time scouting on. Brad Underwood said he didn't even start Indiana prep until 2 days before the game. So he took the first 3 days in practice to get their flow back because he knew his guys would be fine. Like that tells you something. If our team only needs 2 days to prep for you when they have a week in the schedule, come on. That's an issue. And it is because Illinois is a top 10 team in the country. That's plain and simple why you can get away with that too.
So Nick Dorn, I'm gonna go back to that. Since his 26 points at UCLA, so this is the last 4 games. From the field, this is not from three. From the field, he is shooting 4 for 28, it looks like. Let me do that math again. 16, 23. Yeah, 4 for 28 from the field. And 4 for 26 from three.
Let's do the numbers on that. That's 15% from three. What was the number from the field? 4 for 28.
Yeah.
That's 14%. I mean, I feel like Tucker DeVries has looked better. So, like, can we get both? It doesn't seem like we can get both to play at the same time. I don't know. I'm not going to look too much into this game. I think Daniel Flick, when I were talking about this post game, how much do you really look into this one if you're Indiana?
Not
Is it
much.
Is it just we play Purdue on Friday? Let's try to get them. And like Illinois is top 10 team in the country. Like you put a little stock in it of how bad you played on the offense or on the offensive rebound, defensive rebound, all that. How much stock do you put in this game if you're Coach DeVries in Indiana? Is it just like is a game we had to play on our schedule? We gotta keep moving. You can't look on this one too much, can you?
I don't think so. I think this is a game where, like, you never want to say you chalk up a loss, but for me, on a personal level at least, this is one where I did. And do you, I mean, sure, you want to be at the level of an Illinois type of team, but do you really think the best way to evaluate your team as the end all be all is against an Illinois team or against a team very similar to you, like, say, the UCLA game? I think UCLA would be a much better evaluator, but this is still a game on the schedule and it's still a game that happened. You have to look at it a little bit, but not when the most, probably the most difficult game, the most difficult atmosphere, at least, on your schedule is awaiting in 5 days.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that you don't. Illinois is a program that's far and away advanced than Indiana is right now. They've got guys coming back. You got Dane Danger who transferred out. He's waiting in the locker room with Casper Siakuchonis and Will Riley, and they've got commits or recruits that aren't even committed in the locker room with them, seeing what it's like to be at Illinois. And they've won Big Ten Championship, Final Four, all this stuff. They're far and away advanced. You don't try to judge where you are this year in your first year as a head coach or even as a program right now against a team like Illinois who's done it over the past few years. You don't. And do you judge yourself as a team when looking at the mirror? Sure, you have to. Like you played the game. You have to look at it a little bit. But you've got Purdue Friday, which is, like you said, the toughest atmosphere they're going to have this year against a team that's kind of figured it out a little bit. We were talking about how Purdue didn't look too good. They've sort of must have listened to the House Hoosier podcast because they've turned it on a little bit. But they've got a bigger game this week on Tuesday. They've got number one Michigan if Michigan ends up being number one. So does Purdue overlook Indiana by prepping all for Michigan? I'm being optimistic. You have to look at this game a little bit, but I honestly don't put too much weight in this one. We're going to talk about the struggles we already have and how frustrating it is, but at the end of the day, like you said, this is one that you looked at the schedule and you're like, okay, we got to get just got to get through here healthy. Get through this stretch. Because right now, when you're thinking about the tournament, you win the two games, two of the three games at home, and you beat Ohio State on the road, you're probably in the tournament.
And that's an Ohio State team that just lost to Maryland last night, too.
They're bad. They just they're not bad, but they just are struggling. They don't have a good win. They
They've got
still
some
don't really
injury concerns.
they don't really have an identity yet either. Like we're 25, 26 games into the season and they don't have an identity. Ohio State's still figuring themselves out.
We talk about how you don't want to look at one game, but I think trends are good to look at stemming from a game. And there are four, I'll say three guys that I think are worth talking about in this case. We already talked about one in Nick Dorn, but it feels like everybody except the four players of Wilkerson, Alexis, DeVries, and Enright, those four seem to be kind of the stable, like regardless of how well they play in a game, they seem to be the stable group of four. And you know kind of how they're going to play, generally. But Nick Dorn, Reed Bailey, and Tatum Conaway are the three that I want to focus on here. Because this stretch in Big Ten play for all three of them has truly not been great. And Conaway, dealt with the injury, but he's come back, and every time he's come back and played in a game, significant minutes at least, it has not gone well for Indiana as a team. Reed Bailey, since the UCLA game, has really struggled to play like a Big Ten big. And then Nick Dorn, we already talked about it, 4 for 28 since the UCLA game. Like, how deep can you get as a team when your rotation's already short? Now Trent Sisley's getting fewer minutes, but your rotation's short, and then you have three guys, and then Josiah Miles will throw him in there too. you have four guys, maybe five, that are just like you don't know what you're going to get, and usually when it is when you see him on the floor, it's not anything special by any means.
There was a lineup yesterday. I think it was Miles, Bailey, Connerway, Enright, and DeVries. And you're looking around, you're like, who on this lineup is going to score the basketball? And it's one of the things that Tatum Connerway, yeah, he's coming back off of injury. He played pretty well to start the year. I know he had maybe a turnover issue or he's been dealing with the injury. Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? Because they keep putting him out there for very limited minutes and then just yanking him off the floor. If he's not healthy, do not put him on the floor. But if he's healthy, I don't know why he's not even getting a chance to play more minutes. He was 0 for 1 yesterday. I think he only played like, how many minutes did he play? Not very many.
Uh,
Four. He played four
four.
minutes.
Yeah.
Why is he not getting a chance? You're down 18 in the second half. If he's not healthy, why is he not playing? I don't know. And Trent Sisley's minutes going down also kind of confused me because Josiah Miles, who was seemingly not seeing the floor at all earlier in the year, has suddenly become a pretty important rotational piece now for Indiana. Why was he not playing at the beginning of the Big Ten season? Why was Trent Sisley playing and now we just completely flipped? Did something happen? Am I missing something anywhere about why those two have completely flipped roles and Tate and Conroy hasn't seen the floor? I know Tate and Conroy people have said that he's been hurting the team when he's on the floor. To those people, like, I guess, like, record wise, sure, but you got to at least give him a chance to go back out there. This is one of those games. Like, let him go out there. You're down double digits in the second half, and you've got a wing who's 0 for 5. Enright, you kind of need on the floor. Josiah Miles had three fouls. Reed Bailey still struggling. Like, let him go out there. Let Trent Sisley play a few minutes. Like, I don't know. The short rotation's cool. I get it. But I don't know. You mentioned you don't know what you're getting with them, but you really don't know how much you're getting of them either. How much time they're even going to give a chance to do anything out there. Like Conroy played 4 minutes and Sisley played the last minute of the game when it was already decided and there were 44 seconds on the clock and they made a substitution timeout. So, yeah, you don't know what you're getting, but you don't even know how much time you're going to be out there for.
Yeah, bench points were slim, five for Indiana, but that may be the first time where five bench points outscores your opponent in bench points. Illinois had two. Um, yeah, overall numbers not great. 44% from the field for Illinois, 41 for Indiana. Um, Indiana hit six threes on 24 attempts, Illinois seven on 31 attempts. There were only 13 total free throws. Both teams missed one. Indiana had six, five of six, Illinois six of seven. Nine turnovers for Indiana, which on a good day would be, fine, but Illinois only had two and scored 14 points off Indiana's nine turnovers. Indiana two off of Illinois' two. But the big kicker, as I feel like most of us would find out by now against an Illinois team, rebounding. Again, against a taller team, a true Big Ten team. Indiana gets out rebounded 38 to 25, 15 to 4 on the offensive glass with second chance points. Let's see, 17 to 5 in favor of Illinois.
We're going to have to do some research today when we're at the media school on how many games Indiana's been out rebounded in the Big Ten. I'm genuinely curious. How many teams have they out rebounded in the conference this year? Off the top of your head, if you had to give a guess, how many do you think they've out rebounded their teams?
Two,
And those would be Rutgers and probably Penn State.
probably. It's definitely Penn State.
They definitely out rebounded Rutgers by 13. But
Okay, give
it's
me three.
is that it?
We'll come back to
We'll
that.
come back and look at it. But that's an issue. We talked about at the beginning of the season of how you needed everybody to go crush the glass and you needed to find a way to rebound the basketball because they can't right now. They can't rebound the basketball against bigger teams. And now you get to run into Purdue, who just the other night against Nebraska had 20 offensive rebounds. We thought 15 was bad. They had 20 of them. Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn have been eating people alive. I know you saw the Iowa clip where they both threw their guys to the ground almost and jumped and grabbed they're on a different level right now, and you got to figure something out because if you get to the tournament, right now they're right around that 8-9 game. You're going to play another Power 4 team that's probably going to be just as athletic as you and also going to be able to rebound. And if you get lucky enough to win that game, you get to play a one seed. All of the one seeds can rebound. All the one seeds can probably do everything on the floor better than Indiana can at this point in time. But the way you make that gap closer is by shrinking possessions for the other team. You have to grab defensive rebounds. I mentioned it earlier, Illinois shot 17 more shots than Indiana. If you took 17 shot attempts away from Illinois, the game looks a lot closer. Just, I think it would. Just general math wise, if they took 17 less shots, I think the game would have been a lot closer.
Yeah, and they made 9 more shots than Indiana did on 17 more attempts. I would see it. I mean, also you think about like a fifth of their points came from second chance opportunities. So limit those, limit the shots. I know we're saying this is all SEC hypotheticals here, but yeah, I mean that's the classic Nick Rotacap, if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bike kind of situation. But it's true. If Indiana limited Illinois' possessions and limited second chance points, it probably would have been competitive down the stretch.
What adjustment do you make as a coach right now? If your team can't rebound, but like this is who you got. This is who you got. What adjustment do you make?
I'll defer to the basketball expert.
I don't know I don't know what you can do.
And there's the problem.
Yeah, you gotta like I would like to think I know a good amount about basketball. I would like to hope so. Never athletic enough to play it at a high level, but like I know it enough. I I don't know what you do because a few games this year, Tucker DeVries been your leading rebounder, and Sam Alexis has actually been rebounding the basketball pretty well. But Illinois take a lot of long threes, so you should have long rebounds. That should benefit Indiana because the bigs are normally inside. So long threes should have been going out to the guards who would be blocking out. They just have to send five guys to glass. They can't have anybody leaking out. They can't have anybody trying to get back. They have to go to the glass. That's the only thing. And that's the only thing you can really tell them is all five guys have to go to the boards because if you give up 15 offensive rebounds, you're going to get beat by a very high amount of teams in the country. If you give up 15 offensive rebounds to Merrimack, you might have a tough night.
And that's just the difference is that it's a lot easier to not give that up against teams like Merrimack. But in the Big Ten, that's how teams in the Big Ten play, and that's how teams in the Big Ten win. Well, as we start to wrap up, Indiana's lost 71 to 51 to Illinois. We'll look ahead quickly. Friday at Purdue, 8 p.m. on Fox. That's prime time. That's Gus Johnson. That is minimum $300 tickets. I will be there. Yay. No Illinois situation. Will you be there?
I'm unsure yet. I've seen a lot of people credentials get approved. Mine's still pending. I will be going home that weekend anyway, so I'll be in Lafayette, West Lafayette area. Maybe I'll find my way to the game somehow if I'm not credentialed. But I'm gonna have to drive a tough bargain because those are tough tickets to get into. But the plan is to be there. If not, I will be in the area throughout the game.
So that's on Friday at 8 p.m. Then 3 straight home games, Northwestern, Michigan State, Minnesota on February 24th, March 1st, March 4th. And then the season wraps up, regular season wraps up March 7th at Ohio State. Good break in between Northwestern and Michigan State. A full week plus. A lot of time in between games. You got 3 games between Michigan State, Minnesota, 3 days in between Minnesota, Ohio State. Good time to rest, get fully healthy, and finish the regular season strong before the Big Ten tournament in Chicago and hopefully March Madness in one of the first six locations, just on a selfish note, hopefully not Buffalo, New York.
Oh, San Diego or Oklahoma City. Those would be okay. San Diego would be preferred, right?
That'd be tough to get to, but that'd be nice.
That'd be nice. Well,
There's
let's not get too ahead of ourselves because we still got to win a few basketball games.
This
But
is true.
San Diego would be awesome.
So out of the last five, Purdue, Northwestern, Michigan State, Minnesota, Ohio State, how many do you think Indiana will win, and how many do you think Indiana needs to win?
You need to win three, and I think they win three. I think. But I'm not too convinced that they don't lose to Ohio State but beat Michigan State at home.
Do you
I,
think if the
I'm not,
three,
not, what's up?
do you think if the three is Northwestern, Minnesota, and Ohio State, the three unranked opponents, do you think that would still be fine?
Yeah, because Ohio State's a quad one win. So it gives you another quad one win. Indiana's win over Wisconsin keeps looking better and better and better. So maybe that sneaks into the quad one as well. And then realistically, if you win those three, you're probably a 10 seed in the Big Ten. You get probably one of Rutgers or Penn State in the second round of the Big Ten tournament. Gives you basically another win, gets you to 21. Feel like you're okay, especially because you're fighting on the bubble with teams like Ohio State. So that loss to Ohio State, if they were to lose, would hurt, but they'd be trading it for a win with Michigan State. I think if you win the three unranked games, you're probably in the tournament.
If they win four out of five with the loss to Purdue, Big Ten tournament, if they lose first round in the off chance that they do lose to a Penn State or a Rutgers type team, I think that would eliminate that mattering too much. I think three or four wins overall through the Big Ten tournament and the rest of the slate, I'm feeling good, but only time will tell. If they beat Purdue, that will change that number for me. Uh,
You'd probably need one more or two more after that.
yeah. And
It would be the North
Northwestern at home would
and
probably be your
Minnesota.
answer.
Northwestern and Minnesota would be the two that if like you just get those two, you're fine.
The blueprint is there, not putting too much stock in this loss to Illinois as bad as it was. That'll wrap it up for another episode of the House of Hoosier. This early morning episode. This is rare for us. Usually we're late at night, but that'll put a wrap on it. Indiana loses 71-51 at Illinois. Purdue awaits on Friday. We'll have a preview out for that, maybe with a special guest before we lead up to that game. For Noah Gerkey, I'm Ian Plaskoff. We'll catch you on another episode of the House of Hoosier.